Okay, welcome everyone to our Chief Growth Officer Summit. We're super excited to have Tom Ryan with us today, the founder of Referral Program Pros, master in social selling. And he's going to go over with us some of the best strategies that we could use for LinkedIn to help grow our business. This is I love how everything's shaping up, where we started off talking about overall auditing your marketing playbook, to creating a brief to get you started for next year, to then sales acceleration strategies with Peter. Now we go in and talk about impactful social selling. So Tom, I am so excited to have you here. The short amount of time we spent, like, you're a pro at this. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I know there's been some great speakers here today, and I'm excited to bring it. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in. Thanks, Stephen.
Very good. And, audience, feel free to ask questions. We'll incorporate those. And this is a fireside chat. We have questions for Tom around LinkedIn, social selling. So to kick us off, LinkedIn has some features that not everybody uses, Tom. Can you highlight some of those that are really impactful that you've seen that make a big difference, and why should clients start using them?
Yeah, I think on the kind of outreach side of things, one of the big ones that I'm seeing work really well is actually voice notes that you can leave so you can leave a voice note for people, especially when you're connecting with them. You can only do it on mobile, but you get a really high response rate when you leave kind of a personalized, warm note for them as you connect with folks. So if you're able to kind of work that into your workflow, that's a really interesting feature. And then another one is, just on the profile side of things, is making sure that your featured section and your creator mode is turned on, your featured section is there, that you have a custom button link. So there's ways that you can, using LinkedIn's features, that you can kind of take visitors and turn them into leads when they hit your profile. And it's just really important to use those, and it kind of rounds out your profile, allows you to put some more branding in, and just for people, and kind of give them clear direction on what to do next. And then a paid feature that I'd recommend is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you're doing any kind of outreach, that's going to just really help you get more targeted on who you're reaching out to, like very, very specific on who your ICP is, your ideal client profile, and be able to reach them at a much higher volume too. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit later.
So the first feature you outlined, how best practice is to use the voice feature, right? I haven't used it before. It's on your phone. How do you recommend clients do that?
Yeah, I think just I would use it for mostly connection. So as you connect with someone, you don't just want to have a connection and then have it kind of just lay there and sit there and just hope that they kind of see your content. You want to have an initial conversation, quick, doesn't have to be anything big, but you could just, as you connect with someone, send them a nice note. Another thing to add into the cadence is to comment on, or maybe a recent post that they've done as soon as you connect with them, and then tell them in a voice message, hey, just saw your post, left a quick comment, really looking forward to seeing more of your stuff. Great to connect. And what that does, when you're adding the right people, as long as you are adding the right people to your network on LinkedIn, what that does is it kind of tells LinkedIn, oh, these two people are talking to each other, we're going to show that person more of this person's stuff, right? And so you're going to get more relevant views on your content, and by adding that kind of personal touch, you're going to stick out to people, and they're going to be a lot more likely to engage with your stuff. And when you do that over and over and over again, it really compounds over time.
Okay, I like that feature. And then you mentioned turning on the creator mode with the link. How should companies use that one? Like, give them a little more insights into creative mode, because I'm sure not all of them turn it on, and then putting that link on.
Yeah, so there's something that you can turn on your profile called creator mode, and it kind of enables more features for you to use. Kind of a lot of features actually get enabled when you do that. One is having the link up top, so you can add a link or a custom button. You have the choice. So the link you can add at the top. You can name the link whatever you want, and you have 30 characters, I believe, to use. So it could be like book a free consultation, or tell them kind of what to do next, right? And when they hit your profile, and that's typically going to be the most clicked on thing on your whole profile. And so that's one thing. And then the featured section, what I was talking about, is that area that's kind of right below the fold of your banner and headline and all that stuff. And I'd recommend just having one or two things in your featured section, such as like a call to action to either book a call or to grab a resource, join a newsletter, something like that. But the nice thing about it is you can add a little image and add some branding to the featured section, and then just tell people what to do next. That's like your call to action. And so that's the way to kind of leverage that. A lot of people just put like posts or a random link in or a link to their website with no real direction or call to action, and I recommend making it more of a call to action so you can generate leads from it.
Love it. You also mentioned Sales Navigator. For those that don't have it and looking to use it appropriately, how do you use it? What's the best practice there?
Yeah, so in a bunch of ways. So, I mean, typically for outreach, but with Sales Navigator, you can just get so crazily defined on your target ICP, including, what type of company, is it public or private, how many employees, how much revenue does the company do, what titles do the people have, what industries are they in, where are they located, are they active on LinkedIn or not? How much experience do they have? And you can drill down to how much experience they have at their current company, how much experience they have in their current role, or how much experience they have total. So you can really get very, very hyper focused on who you're targeting. And then when you have your list, then people at the clip, over 200 messages a day going out via channels like InMail, service messages, and group messages, which I can elaborate more on later when we get into that. But that's what Sales Navigator is, kind of the tip of the spear when it comes to setting up your targeting and then executing a messaging campaign at scale with high volume.
Love it. And I know we're going to jump into this one in the next section here, but before we forget, so there's 3 kinds of messaging. You said the InMail, service message, and you said, what was the other one?
A group message. So, I mean, there's the normal one that everyone's familiar with, which is just sending a message to your first connection, right? Your first degree connections. But you can't do many of those because you can only send 100 connection requests every week, right? So that's going to get you 100 connection requests. Maybe if you're doing good if half of those accept, so that's 50. So that's only 50 messages a week. But if you want to do more, then you would rely on one of those 3 other channels. So they're familiar with it. Think of it like as almost like a separate paid platform that LinkedIn offers, where you can send InMails. You have credits you can use, and you only get 50 of those a month. But I'm talking about InMails that you can send to open profiles. So the way that works is when you sign up for Sales Navigator or premium subscription to LinkedIn, the default is going to be for you to have an open profile, okay? And unless you turn it off, it's going to remain on, and then people can send you InMails if your profile is turned to open profile. So you just have to look for those folks who has a premium account, and you can send them InMails that way. You get roughly 800 of those per month that you can send. So that's 40 a day if you're doing it every weekday. Give you some perspective. So that's one way of messaging outside of just normal connection requests. And then there's service messages. So, and this is something that more and more people are turning on LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn asks you, well, do you provide any services? And more people are filling that section out. And if you do fill it out, it's going to appear on your profile as a little blue bar, kind of little blue tile. And if you click on that, you can actually send someone a message that way, as if you were inquiring about their service, but they'll just get it as a normal message, and you can just send whatever you want to them. So that's the second way. And then the third way is a group message. And I don't mean sending a message or posting in a group. I mean when you join, if you join a group on LinkedIn, there's a bunch of groups, and frankly the groups are pretty dead, and there's not much life in them, and they don't really provide a lot of value. But where they do a lot for you is actually if you join them, you can now message anybody in that group. So you have to do a little bit of digging on, of course, well, who's in there. But if you find a person that that you want to target and you're in the same group, you can just copy and paste their name over and be able to message them that way.
Love it. That's great. So talk about using those, but moving on to target precisioning, right? So you've talked about how you can message many people, focus on various forms of messaging to get most of the message out. What is the most effective targeting techniques on LinkedIn that you can use?
Yeah, I think the most effective targeting techniques are really to think about who's going to be the most relevant. So thinking about what's your offer, what's your messaging going to be, and then who's going to be the most relevant audience to receive that, and who's not going to be relevant. So as much as you want to include and put your filters on to include the right people, like for sure, like by title, what's their job title? That's a big one. Perhaps their industry. That's another really helpful one. What's their company size, right? Like you have to think about get into the minds of who's actually going to receive the message and how can you make it extremely relevant for them. So you might want to even exclude some of the filters using Sales Navigator too.
Okay, so picking your ICP, using Sales Navigator, you said title, company, size, revenue, right? Those are some key ones. Mm-hmm. Now, we picked that one. How do you identify and connect your ideal audience? So you can filter, and then how do you identify and connect with them?
Yeah, so when you do the filtering, they'll just start appearing on the right-hand side of your screen in Sales Navigator, and then you can kind of go in and either connect with them on LinkedIn or just send them a message. So you can do one or both. So that's it'll just pull up 25 people per page, and you can just go through the whole list. Until you've completed it. And you can even save a list if you want to and go back to it, and then you can create multiple lists and go back to each list if you want it as well.
Okay, so your best practice is take that, do your filter, save the list, have it ready, and then you take your in-mails, send those out, send your paid ones, so that paid in-mails. Does it show their group then? You can connect them if they have similar groups to yours?
Yeah, once you get to their profile, it will show you that. And I wouldn't even recommend doing paid in-mails. They're pretty expensive. You can use 800 of them free every month, plus the 50 that they give you for free. So as long as you're
how do you get the 800?
So as long as you're sending to open profile people, which is the default for when you get a premium account on LinkedIn, as long as you're sending to those people, you get 800 of those per month. And you can identify those people. This is something I missed when I was just explaining it earlier, is you can identify them with they'll have a little yellow LinkedIn icon right next to their name in Sales Navigator. Mm-hmm. So that's a really easy way to identify people that have a premium account. And 9 out of 10 of those people are going to have an open profile.
Okay, so once you identify a list, you send it to the people with open profiles first. Is there other ways to reach them too, or is it pretty much 900 is a lot?
That's the way. People. That's one way, and then you can also, like I said, send them either a service message if they're offering a service, or go find folks in relevant groups. So join relevant groups that are going to have a lot of your target ICPs in there, and then you can, once you're in the group, you can just go down the list and message anybody you want in that group.
Okay. So lots of good ways to connect with them. The services-wise one, I guess it doesn't really pertain to this kind of targeting because they probably don't offer their service, right? Is it easy to see their service from that list?
Not from that list, but yeah, you have to click into their actual LinkedIn profile to see if they are offering services, and then you can message them from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's see. Any other ways to connect with that list once you create it that we haven't mentioned yet?
Just doing regular connection requests as well. You can build that list in Sales Navigator just to do your normal connection requests. But what I'd recommend as far as connection requests is actually to look for people, especially if engagement and audience building is a priority for you, is look for people on the platform that are already engaging with other people's posts that are also part of your ICP, right? So you want to look for those folks, like find someone who's maybe complementary to what you do, who has a similar audience, look at their posts, and then who's commenting on those, and then those are the people you want to connect with because they're A, your target ICP, but B, they're also already proven engagers on the platform, right? So you want to connect with those people because they're going to be more receptive to your messages, they're going to be more receptive to, engaging with your content, and just, you want to think of it like building a network. It's not really LinkedIn's not really a social media platform as much as it's a networking platform. And so start with targeted, focused, like good connections, and kind of build your snowball and your empire from there.
Okay, that's really good feedback, and ideas and strategies. Could you share some insights on use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for better targeting? You've shared that. Is there anything else that you want to share about Sales Navigator that should be used as we're going after ICPs?
Yeah, I think just thinking how relevant can you get, and try to start with a big pool of targets and leads, and then kind of refine it if you can. There's a couple of interesting filters you can put on. As long as you start with a fairly big list, you can then include filters like, have they been active on LinkedIn? Have they posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days? That's a filter you can use, which is good because you're going to be now reaching people who are more receptive to your messaging typically. The other one is you can have a filter that's, have they changed jobs in the last 90 days? So if you're reaching out to folks, about, maybe some kind of initiative that you want to talk to them about, well, people that are in a newer role are typically going to be more receptive to kind of, they're gung-ho, they're in their new job, like they want to get stuff done, so they probably are going to be more receptive to your message.
Very good. Now, common mistakes you see people make when they're doing this kind of work on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think the big mistake I see is just when people focus all about themselves, and they're just kind of talk about like, hey, I do this, do you need this? If so, let's have a call. And it just falls so flat. It just really misses the mark. But that's like 95% of what I still see is folks just reaching out with kind of, this is what I do. I'd love to connect. Do you have 15 minutes? And I don't. Time is more and more seen as a currency as we go, and people are not willing to give it up. So you have to really demonstrate that you can provide value up front. So have a more of a giving mentality versus a taking mentality, and really truly go try to solve a problem and help someone with what I call kind of a slice of service. So what I do with my clients is really set up like, what's your value offer going to be that we can lead with and get it out to relevant people, and just say, hey, this, you might have this problem, this might be of interest. If it is, I have something that might be helpful, and that's kind of what the value offer is. Could be a blueprint, it could be a guide, it could be a newsletter, it could be a video or a personalized video that you're just, you're offering to send them their way to help solve their problems. And you lead with that, and that's what kind of gets the conversation started. That's why you're not beating around the bush with small talk and having a chat network. It's like, what's this about? But you're also not just flat out selling and pitching right away. You're leading. You're trying to help someone right out of the gate.
Love it. And that sets the stage for the next conversation about messaging. In terms of value-led messaging, what constitutes a strong value proposition and a message that will cause a reply?
Yeah, I think the best thing is really trying to share something specific that's specifically going to help them with a unique problem. So where you offer to share your ideas based on their specific business, right? Where you can really tailor it to the person instead of just a general thing. You can actually offer to give like a slice of your service, like some ideas you have. Like what I do for people is I review their LinkedIn profile and say, hey, this might be helpful if you're looking to kind of generate more leads. Love to share some thoughts on how you could do that with a few updates to your LinkedIn profile. And I kind of lead with that, and gets a great response because it's just like, hey, I'll send it over. It's no strings attached. If you want to take it to the next level, we can talk about it, and it generates a lot of conversations that way.
Love it. And that's great advice there. And how can business personalized messaging, how can you achieve that at scale, right? And well, how important is it? Number one, or do you think it's important, or do you use it? And then, can you scale it?
Yeah, I think that's I think one where I see people get hung up on quite a bit is it is very, very important to do volume. I mean, you'd be surprised that I think that's where I think a lot of businesses fail is they're not able to do the kind of volume and get in front of enough prospects. And there's three variables that go into a good outreach campaign, and and that's it. And it's really just your targeting, your messaging, and your volume, right? So who are you sending it to, what are you sending, and how often are you sending it? And if you can nail all three, that's where you see a lot of success. But volume is tricky because it's time consuming, right? Like, who wants to sit there and send 200 messages a day on LinkedIn? Takes a significant amount of time. And so, and that's not to pitch my service, but that's like what we help people do, is really just take that over, like set up the strategy and then take it over so that they're not, having to spend that time. But if you do have the time, it's super effective. And no one says you need to send 200 a day. You can start with wherever you're comfortable and kind of scale it from there as you get comfortable with it.
Can you personalize and scale? Because it sounds like to do 200 a day or 50 a day, a generic message is probably more useful. But can you personalize at scale? What does that look like?
Yeah, so you don't actually personalize the first message. I don't recommend, because that just takes way too long. So what I'm talking about is a strategy where you're offering the same thing to a targeted list of people, and then when they reply and say they're interested, that's where you kind of pour on the personalization, and you can then follow up and talk more about them and their unique problem. But the initial message is all the same. You're just asking if something would be helpful. Does that make sense?
Oh, that totally makes sense. And then that scales in a big way.
Right.
How do you measure the effectiveness of your messaging? Is it going well? How do you measure? How do you A/B test? What do you suggest?
It's really down to the conversion event. So what are you looking to achieve? Do you want someone to, join an upcoming webinar or masterclass or newsletter or, consultation? So look at what your conversion event is and then kind of reverse engineer it. So how many, of those do you want? And then what is your, if you're sending 100 messages a day and you're booking a couple calls a day, that's going to be pretty good, right? Like but if you're not, then then you have to tweak your messaging, your targeting, but just looking at kind of your numbers from each thing, like how many messages are going out, how many people are replying positively, and how many people are then converting out of those.
How often you message someone before they reply back? Do you have a rule of thumb on, is it one message, you go 7 times, 3 times? What do you suggest?
On LinkedIn, I don't bug people. It's more just send a message. If they don't reply, especially if you're doing an in-mail, you actually can't send more than one unless they accept it. So if they don't accept your initial in-mail, you can't send them another one. If you're sending other types of messages, you can, and then I would maybe send 2 or 3 just to kind of remind them of your value offer. But if your list of leads is really, really big, then I would say just send one and move on if they're not interested.
Okay, and if you did again, how spaced out would you have them for your second or third?
Yeah, it kind of depends on your campaign, but a good kind of spacing would be something like sending a message, waiting 2 days, send another message, and then maybe wait a week and send another one.
Okay, that's good advice. What about odds of people? I mean, what is not everybody's super busy, so odds of getting replies back to your message? What have you seen? Is it 1%, 2%, 5%?
It really can kind of be all over the board. So again, it just comes down to those variables, like who are you targeting? If you're targeting like CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, don't expect to get a lot of replies back, right? Like, but if you're targeting, maybe like more so kind of solopreneur or folks that are folks that are in front of their laptops a lot, that are where you can offer some good value. Like you could be getting as high as 30% reply rates, if not more. So it's kind of everything in between, but you have to think about in terms of who are you reaching out to, and kind of how much time do those people have? Are they in front of their computers? Are they on LinkedIn even? And then what's your value offer? What's your messaging sound like? Are you just taking, or are you giving them something that's really relevant and helpful? And when you can match those things up, that's when you start getting the really high response rates.
Okay, love it. So now, in a you're giving everybody the playbook to do LinkedIn strategy. And by the way, Tom has an amazing company help you with LinkedIn outreach, and it does take a long time to do that, right? It's really time consuming. So if you have to work on projects and clients and conversations, he's a perfect resource to go to. Effective message delivery. Regarding message delivery, what are the best times for sending messages for optimal response?
Yeah, I mean, just during the normal working day, like mornings are typically best. I think I saw a report recently that it was best to be sending messages like kind of middle of the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday was like the highest time. But if you're hitting that kind of just work day slot of the kind of middle of the work day, those kind of 6 hours, I would say just focus on somewhere in that window, but it tends to skew a little higher kind of Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, morning times. How frequent should your message be sent? I think we talked about one time, maybe 2 to 3, depends, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can crank them out, pretty fast as once you start getting a rhythm, and you can kind of build it into your day. And that way too, if you're in front of your screen, you can be getting back to responses, because that's the other important part when you're generating leads is someone's interested. Well, don't wait, don't play that kind of hard to get thing. Data shows that the sooner you can get back to a lead, a speed to lead, that's when they're excited, that's when they're receptive. So when they reply positively, message them right away and get them to consume whatever kind of value offer you want to send their way, right then and there.
That's good. Very good insight. What formatting techniques makes the messages more engaging? Is it, yeah.
Yeah, the big thing is just keep it short and keep no big blocks, no big paragraphs. So, address them by their first name. One line of kind of what's the interest or problem, what's the thing of value you're going to offer them, and maybe back it up with kind of, success you've had with other clients, or kind of your background or unique perspective, and then kind of take the pressure off at the end by just saying hey, would ask permission to send it to them, right? So that's kind of, but as far as the formatting goes, I would just say, no big blocks of text. Keep white space and keep it short. You don't need more than 80 words in your outreach messages.
Do you suggest putting your calendar link in there for them to schedule a message, or is that something they should reply to and then you send it to them?
Yeah, they should reply to that typically. I recommend you can put something that you think might be of value, but when you just lead with a Calendly link, I think people get their backs up, and rightly so. It's who just wants to give their time right away without knowing anything about you? So ask permission first, make it a value, and you'll see, I think you just get a lot better response with that approach. And you can also look at who do you want to give your time to. Even though you might think they're a great prospect, do you want to give your calendar link to every single person? If you're doing it that way, you're probably wasting a lot of time. Automation
is a big thing on LinkedIn. We'll have a lot of people talk about that at our events, but can you use automation to reach out? Are you losing a personal touch? Any positive, negatives you have about automating outreach?
Yeah, so you can. There's a lot of tools out there that you can use automation. It's against LinkedIn's terms of service for one, which most people aren't too concerned about, and nor should you be, as long as you're staying safe and under a threshold. But I don't recommend. I wouldn't go that direction just because LinkedIn is going to be cracking down on it more and more, and you, I think, have an increased risk of getting your account restricted or permanently banned, especially as time goes on. They know all the automation tools. They're well aware of them, and they're well aware of who's using them. Now, that doesn't mean, like, if you want to just set something up to do some connection requests, probably going to be fine. But once you start trying to set it up to do messaging, that's when it gets really tricky, because your targeting is going to be off. Even though it might look okay in Sales Navigator, there's going to be quite a few, especially as you get pages and pages deep into your search, into your lead list. So you're going to want to look at, or have some human eyes. Volume is the other issue with automation too, because if you're sending, even with the really safe tools, like, you won't be able to get more than 40-50 messages out per day, and then your targeting's not great, and then you run the risk of your account getting banned. And it's just, so yes, you can, but at low levels, I would say.
Okay. Do you use it in your practice, or is it all manual? What do you use when
I
you're
tried,
helping
and I have in the past, but now actually it's kind of funny. Like, in an AI world, we're moved everything manual. So I have we have a team, great campaign managers who are given specific instructions. When we're starting, like, who are we targeting in the campaign? What are we looking for? What's the messaging we're using, and that way you get human eyeballs on all of the messages that go out, and we're doing it more organically to kind of develop a good system, so we can really hit that volume instead of 30-40 messages in a day. We're 100, 200 plus in a day.
Now, I don't personally use it, but some people let others log into the account to do the sending. Is that fine? Is there drawbacks there? Do you think outreach should be done by each person? What do you recommend there on having someone else do it for you from your account, or should you be doing it yourself?
Yeah, I think it depends on are you okay with having a kind of a value-led, like, generic message that goes out? Then you can definitely hand it off to someone. If you want to take a really personalized approach and look at each individual profile and kind of come up with some sort of really unique message, but that takes time. I mean, to really do it well, to do it where it's not just like, hey, I saw you went to University of Minnesota, that's so cool. Like, nobody really cares about that. So you want to make it, if you want to make it actually interesting and personalized, you're gonna have to spend some time on that. So if that's the camp you want to be in, I would do it yourself. But if not, then you just give someone clear instructions to execute on your behalf, and that's essentially what I work with our clients on.
Perfect. Lynette has she has a positive review for you about how you did a video walkthrough of her profile as an offering. Tell us a little bit about what do you do there as a best practice to share with us.
Yeah, so I just basically help people kind of look at their. It's good to have a second set of eyes on anything, like if it's my website or my emails or work or whatever. It's just good to have a second set of eyes. And so what I do is help people kind of section by section, excuse me, go through, starting with their banner. Profile photos are usually okay. You can add a little bit of branding to them, but starting with their banner, their headline, their call to action, link up top, making sure that's added, their featured section and kind of what should go there, their about section. So all these kind of sections of your profile, kind of how do you make it really clear and compelling for your prospects, and be very concise about who your service is for, your product or service, and then what it is and what result it gets for people, right? So if you can nail those things and have a very client-facing profile, so it's not really about you, it's about the problems that you solve and who you solve them for.
Yeah.
And you think about that in each section of the profile. And kind of thinking of it like a landing page where you look at, all right, if I'm getting visitors to my profile, which you will undoubtedly if you're doing any kind of outreach, people are going to be like, well, let's look them up on LinkedIn. And then when they get there, is it relevant for them, and is there a clear path for what they should do next?
And is that something you offer people as a profile review? Is that part of the package?
Yeah, so what I do is, I mean, that's typically what my outreach will be, to review someone's profile, and then if they want to actually, I do also offer kind of a standalone service where I'll do a profile upgrade for them as like a kind of a one-off, or basically we're just revamping the whole profile to make it, on brand, clear, concise, and create all the ways to kind of take people off platform and generate leads.
Yeah. Very good. Let's see here. That's great for everybody listening. If you want a profile review, that's something Tom is offering, as well as his service to reach out. So this has been great. Any other? One thing that gets brought up all the time is posting and getting likes and comments on those. Any advice you have for people that are creating posts, and how do you turn those posts into leads? What suggestions do you have?
Yeah, great question. I think so. With posting, I would say don't beat yourself up over it, but try to get some content out that's going to be educational. A few times a week if you can, but I wouldn't use content as a main business strategy for someone that's first starting out that needs leads right away, because it's kind of more of a long-term game, and it's more of a tailwind for your business, I would say. But I still think people should do it. It's just that I think it's a little irresponsible for people to say, start, if you're just starting out, start with content and you're going to get all these leads. It's going to take time, and you're going to need to build your audience and all those things. But the big thing that's going to help you get more engagement is, formatting your post for sure for LinkedIn, making sure there's a lot of white space, a good hook at the beginning, and delivering value in the post, and making it really relevant for people. And then the big thing is when you're connecting with folks, kind of having that cadence of you connect with them, go comment on something that they've done, and then go send them a DM telling them that you've commented, right? So they can see that, because you're going to typically get a response from that at a very high rate, because people want others to engage with their content. And then most likely they'll start engaging with your content. So if you follow that recipe and it just compounds over time, that's when you start to see a lot more engagement on your post, because your network is now full of engagers, right?
So tell us a little bit about, Tom, your service, what do you provide for the clients? What's in the packages that you offer? That way people know a little bit about how to reach out to you and get more advice. You shared a lot of great advice. I mean, pretty much laid out the playbook of connecting in LinkedIn and getting leads. But tell us what you can do for those listening.
Yeah. So our main offer is really to help people kind of develop their outreach strategy and then put it into action and be able to get messaging out at a high volume. So we have a kickoff call where we review, go through who are we targeting, what should our value offer be, what should our messaging be, and then what's our conversion plan going to be when people reply. So we kind of set all that up, even including a landing page where we can have your video, where they can then book a call or take that kind of whatever the conversion event is that you want. And then we just execute the campaign where we're sending to your target list that we've come up with every day to 100 plus messages a day, 200 plus messages a day, depending on kind of what your budget and needs are. So that's in a nutshell how we help our clients.
Perfect. That's great. And any other parting advice you want to leave with the audience? And we're welcome to take audience questions, but if there was any other advice that we haven't talked about, they're like, you guys should, there's something I want to say, I haven't said it yet, what would it be? Yeah,
I think just get comfortable with the idea of doing outreach, because a lot of people, I think, get their backs up and they think, I don't want to be sleazy selling and pitching all the time. And you gotta think of it in terms of, if you are confident that you can help people, then why wouldn't you reach out and try to help them, right? And so you're actually doing them a disservice if you're not trying to help them. So don't go at your outreach with a sales mentality. Go at it with a, I'm trying to help this person mentality. And that's where the value offer comes into play, because you're literally just seeing if what you have might be helpful for them. And when you do it that way, it's way more enjoyable. People will show up on your sales calls with excitement and appreciation instead of I only got 15 minutes. What's this about? You don't get that when you do an actual value-led outreach. and people kind of see that you're a human being and they experience your expertise, that's what's going to make for really good sales calls and really help your closing rate as well.
That is some valuable feedback. Tom, this was awesome. I have not heard someone clearly articulate all these benefits of using LinkedIn, the strategies. You've been very honest. You've been able to give people the insights they need to take the next steps, and if they can't do it or have the time, you're willing to do that for them. You're providing big value and reviewing people's profile and help them focus their message in it. And you are very knowledgeable in this area. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing so much, right, with the audience now. And then as we, in our groups, as we invite more people to it, you'll be able to share that as well. But we really appreciate that, Tom.
Yeah.
And we're grateful you came out and to do this with us.
Yeah, I really have fun doing it. So I thank you so much, and I hope people got some ideas and get a little bit more comfortable with the idea of doing some outreach and growing their business. So if I can have helped one or two people today, that I love that. So thank you, Stephen.
Oh yeah, and we'll get the word out. We'll bring our communities in. We're starting a chat as well where they can meet and ask questions directly to you. But Tom, thank you for those invaluable insights. Thank you, the audience, for staying engaged. Thank you for being here. And for those that are going to be listening, please reach out to Tom, ask him questions. We hope you found the session very enlightening and can help you grow your sales in LinkedIn. And don't forget to connect with Tom, explore his website, his profile, sign up for that free assessment. And we have our next speaker. Jeremy will go into details around automation, LinkedIn, social selling strategies as well. So thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.